sitting back, enjoying the time. What? You know why I'm hyped. How y'all feeling? Welcome to the warm-up. What's going on, everybody? This is Designated Report's weekly NFL pregame show hosted by me, Jay, your host this and every week of the NFL season. Man, we got some things to talk about. You can find me individually on Instagram at jdot.jpg. And you know what? Follow everything that we're doing here at Designated Report. Follow this account if you're not already doing so. Follow us on Twitter at DesignatedRPT. And on YouTube, subscribe so you can see every episode of the warm-up. Starring this guy. Woo! Listen, what you hear right now is 2002. Chat, what up? Come in. Johnny.Pinnell, I see you. Michelangelo.Garland, I see you. Frankie, X3. Every week, my people and more. Come through. Let's talk football. Let's talk NFL. Let's talk wild card. Again, what you hear is 2002. Enjoy it while we dive into the first day and now the second day of the first ever Super Wild Card Weekend. Never before have we had the 7th seed, therefore never have we before had 3 games, triple headers. Man, if you had no dogs in these fights, what a day yesterday. What good football to sit back on a Saturday and enjoy some good games you could watch start to finish. Listen, if you had no dog in the fight, good football to watch. Good games. Close games. Colts Bills, Rams Seahawks, Bucks versus the Washington football team. Today, the Ravens go to Nashville. The Bears in the Superdome in New Orleans. And the Browns take on the Steelers in the night cup in primetime. Listen, the Dolphins, I know. Dolphins are not in. The Dolphins are a team I wanted to see in the playoffs. And if they had to replace somebody, I'd say the Ravens. And no shade to the Ravens. I just feel like I know who they are. There's little intrigue for me personally. For Miami, it was like, man, I want to see more big game Tua. I want to see the flip-flop, and I want to see how messy or successful that could be if Fitz was coming in and out. And listen, it's not a big deal to me, but I thought it would be exciting. Cody Norlander, thanks for joining. Oh, Michelangelo Garland, Washington football team finna be a problem next year. That's true. We'll talk about that. Better fresh than sorry. Follow this account. BFTS_. Ravens winning today. That's what he says. Washington made you look last night. Michelangelo Garland. Let's talk about Saturday's games. Colts at the Bills. Man, Phillip Rivers undefeated. 4-0 in wild card games. Is that enough for you to say Phil got it? Because the Bills were doing things. The Bills are legit. The Bills have been doing things all season. But again, not that easy. The Bills were the higher seed at home and on fire, but it didn't feel like a lock. Not to me. I felt like the Colts could do this. Defense in a running game. I thought so. I was excited for this game. And they had their shots before some questionable moments wrapped it up for Phillip Rivers in Indianapolis. Listen, before halftime, the Colts run a toss sweep on 3rd down in the red zone. The toss sweep got nothing. This is not Pop Warner. This is not Madden. Everybody in the league is fast. A toss sweep is a 2-yard play. You might as well go up the gut and get 3. What's a toss sweep? So now they go for it on 4th down. In the red zone, inside the 5. Right before halftime, on the road, in the playoffs. Blasphemy. Didn't work out. And they left enough time for Josh Allen, the Bills, to drive down the field 96 yards to score before halftime. It was a huge swing in the game. Fast forward to the fourth quarter. Josh Allen goes deep. Stephon Diggs, 35 yards. Puts him up 2 scores. But Phil answers with a deep pass of his own, 27 yards to Jack Doyle. The Colts were within 3, but just couldn't make it happen from that point. Listen. Josh Allen went for 324 and 2 scores, 54 more on the ground and a rushing touchdown. Really exercised those demons from last year's wild card, where he fumbled in the fourth quarter. The Texans had a huge comeback, and they won in overtime against these Bills. Listen, young quarterbacks, this is how you shake off those playoff demons and get a playoff dub. Lamar Jackson, I'm talking to you. That was smooth, right? Diggs, 6 for 128 and a score. Cole Beasley, 7 for 57. Excuse me. All-Pro second team, Cole Beasley. All-Pro second team, Cole Beasley. The Cole Beasley who's 21st in catches, 23rd in yards, and 63rd in touchdowns. Second team All-Pro, Cole Beasley. Not Allen Robinson. Not Terry McLaurin. Not Amari Cooper. Cole Beasley. But congrats to Buffalo for circling the wagons for the first time with a playoff win since 1995. Some of my viewers were not born in 1995. Sheesh. Leave Cole alone. I'm not leaving him alone. I'm not leaving him alone. Speaking of All-Pro teams, let's talk the first team All-Pro. There's not a lot of debate here. Quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. Running back, Derrick Henry. Your pass catchers, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, aforementioned. Travis Kelce, a tight end. I know linemen are people too, but I'm not going there. Listen, here's what I think is truly incredible. You know how they vote on the All-Pro team, right? They don't vote for first team and second team. They just vote. It's 50 guys that have a vote. Now at tight end, there's one spot. If more than one guy gets a vote to be on the All-Pro team, then you tally up. And that's how you got your second team. Travis Kelce was so elite. We knew Darren Waller was far and away the second best tight end in the league. We know Darren Waller is a beast. But Travis Kelce was so good, he got all 50 of those votes, unanimous. Without a vote for anyone else, second team All-Pro tight end was vacant. Vacant. Apologies to Darren Waller. Congrats to Travis Kelce. Vacant second team. On defense, first team All-Pro, TJ Watt. Myles Garrett, your pass rushers, your edge rushers. Up the middle, Aaron Donald, no surprise. DeForest Buckner, no surprise. Linebackers, Fred Warner, Darius Leonard, Bobby Wagner. Love and respect for Bobby Wagner, who's probably going to the Hall of Fame, but this year was not a Bobby Wagner year. These are not Bobby Wagner numbers. And relative to other guys in the league, I can think of 3 guys right now off the top of my man-bunned head who can get that spot this year over Bobby Wagner. But it's all good. Corner, Xavier Howard, who led the league with 10 interceptions. Jalen Ramsey again. These are locks. We had a tie at safety. So you got 3 safeties. Number 1, Tyrann Mathieu. And then the tie was Minkah Fitzpatrick, who will be playing tonight for the Steelers, and Budda Baker of the Cardinals. Okay. Let's get to the second game of the day yesterday. Rams at Seahawks. Jared Goff did not start, but he finished because that private equity analyst, known as John Wolford, had to leave the game in the first quarter. Nasty hit to the head. He was able to walk to the locker room, but left in the ambulance. Goff came in, did his thing. They won. They beat Seattle in Seattle, 30-20. I told you, this is not a fortress anymore up in Seattle. Nobody's scared to go up there anymore. Aaron Donald also went down with a rib injury. Sean McVay's not really talking about what it's going to be for next week, but not thought to be serious. Cooper Kupp, bone bruise, contusion on the knee. He's all right. Rams running back Cam Akers went off. Oh, my goodness. And some of you are like, Cam Akers, I picked him up like mid-season fantasy. He didn't really do anything, but let me supplement that. In Week 15, he was injured. Week 16, he was a scratch from the lineup. Week 17, he averaged 1 yard per carry. But Week 18, Super Wild Card Weekend, he comes out, puts the league on notice with 176 total yards. Joined two other Rams rookies with 100 yards from scrimmage, Torrey Holt and fellow running back Eric Dickerson. So salute to Cam Akers, and let's see what you got next week. But what happened to the Seahawks, man? What happened to the Seahawks, man? What's up to the chat? Michelangelo Garland said he dropped Cam Akers multiple times. As you should. That's what he did. But yesterday, that's what he did. Listen. Shout out to Cash Walken. Said no defense from Seattle. I can agree with that. The defense of the Rams was elite, though, pressuring Russell Wilson on 44% of his dropbacks. 44% of the times he went to pass, he was under duress. And we've seen him make plays running around, but you can't do that successfully every single time you drop back to pass. It's just not gonna... It's not anything new. I mean, Russ was sacked 52 times, the most in the league, but that's not... Doesn't mean that's the way it's supposed to be. Speaking of, I went on Twitter last night to see what Donald Trump had said about the game. He's been quiet lately, which is weird. But I did search Russell Wilson, and before I even finished typing his name, Russell Wilson, the first result, obviously, was Russell Wilson. The second result was Russell Wilson overrated. Is Russ overrated? Listen, the same Russ who started the season with the NFL record 16 touchdown passes in the first 4 games? That Russ? That Russ? Real Paul Cortez, I see you in the chat, saying he's the most overrated in the league. Somebody spit their drink when they read that. Is this the same Russ overrated who was the first since 2014 to throw consecutive 5 touchdown pass games? That Russ? The same Russ who had his career high in pass touchdowns this season? He's not overrated. He cooled down from a historic start to a season, and he stunk in the last 4 games. He stunk. We can call it that. In the last 4 games, Russell Wilson, 56% passing, 175 pass yards per game, and a QB rating, passer rating of 82.7. Those are not Russ numbers. We know that. But as soon as a great player is not great for a second, all of a sudden we want to zip him up in plastic, and that's it. He's still fly. I will definitely say, though, after serving as the conductor of the Russ for MVP train, I shut up. And he's not that, and he shouldn't even get a single vote for MVP this year. I get that. But what's also true is that Peyton Manning struggled to win in the postseason. Lost a ton of playoff games, did he not? Was he overrated, or did he just lose those games and was entrusted to come back and put the league on notice and was still as formidable? Tom Brady went a full decade without winning a ring. But we know who he is. In that full decade, is Tom Brady overrated right now? Or did he have a stretch where he wasn't performing to the lofty expectations that he set, that we accepted? Randy Moss lit the league on fire his first 6 years in the league in Minnesota. Then he went to Oakland and by and large disappeared. Is Randy Moss overrated, or did he have a stretch? Listen, I'm not saying Russ is elite and consistent. He wasn't. You got to call it what it is. But Russ is not overrated. Let's not be silly. The examples go on in NFL history. And let's not, this is not hyperbole. Russ is one tier below these guys when he finishes his career. The numbers will be there. Super Bowl appearances. He's got rings. Should have gave it to Marshawn. All right. But Russ will be back, and hopefully some guys on the offensive line will not be back. Russ, fairly rated, not overrated. Let's not be silly. We will breeze through the nightcap. On paper, I mean, Tampa is supposed to be scary. Running backs, receivers, Antonio Brown, future Hall of Famer. Gronk, future Hall of Famer. Brady went to Godwin and to Antonio Brown in the first half, but what was that? Listen, people thought if they were going to be upset, if an upset was on the menu, it would be the Washington front four. Do you know how much draft capital Washington isn't invested in this front four, and it's paid off. Let me tell you something. The Washington front four, which is actually 5 guys in a really elite rotation, third most in combined sacks, third most in total pressures, and the most forced fumbles. But this ended up not being the battle. It was Tampa's defense versus the Washington offense. And no, Alex Smith was not there. It was a man named Taylor Heineke, who joined the team in November, who was everywhere, threw for 300. This was scary for Bucs fans. We escaped that. And I promise you, if Chase Young showed up, it will be Tampa going home. He wanted Tom Brady. He got Tom Brady. But he didn't get the Tom Brady. And if he did, I wouldn't be wearing this today. I wouldn't be embarrassing myself. Tampa won 31-23, got their first playoff win since Super Bowl 37 in the year 2003. Woo! And they move on. Before we breeze through today's game, which quarterback is under the most pressure to go deep in these playoffs? I'll give a rundown. The honorable mention is Mitch Trubisky because he's playing for his job. I don't care what you've done the last few games. Now you're in a big spot. Can you lead this team? This Bears team is one that wants to be in the playoffs, and you're here. Can you do it? Yes or no? Number 5, Drew Brees. We know who he is. This will add to the legacy, but man, the heartbreak that he's had, that we can touch on a little bit later in the show in a few minutes, Drew Brees has to put up. And this is his last hurrah. Number 3, Josh Allen. Impressive. And I'm trying not to go on to what he did yesterday. But he did win. If he were to lose, it's like, man, this guy can't, 2 years in a row, he can't get it done. Which sounds like the number 1 guy on this list. 2 years in a row, can't get the job done. But he got it done. So even if he loses next week, you know what he can do in the playoffs. You know what kind of season he consistently had this year. Josh Allen, number 3. Gotta win, gotta go deep. But if you don't, it's like, man, I know what we have here, and I like it. Number 2, Aaron Rodgers. They drafted your successor. What are you going to do about it? Oh, MVP season. He had an MVP season, which is what he did. What do you do after that? That's a regular season award. You only got one of these. We know who you are in January. We don't see you that often in February. What can you do? This is your legacy. When they drafted your successor, clock's ticking. And number 1, Lamar Jackson. You're 0-2 in the playoffs. Forget the rings. He's talking about multiple rings. You got more turnovers than touchdowns in the playoffs. Show up. All right. If he doesn't play well today and he doesn't win, who is he? Lamar Jackson is on high fraud alert for me. Say what you need to. High fraud alert. Gotta win. Speaking of Baltimore, they play in the early game today, directly following the warm-up. They had to win out 5-0 just to get into the playoffs. Respect. But Tennessee got their number last time. They want to avenge that. Derrick Henry hit him with the eye. Earl Thomas had him turned around, turned him into a lead blocker, gave him the meme treatment. Aye. Mr. 2K, El Tractorcito. That's who I trust today. Going for 100 yards, maybe not 200. Ryan Tannehill 2-1 in the playoffs. This is a guy that I trust to get the ball to A.J. Brown and to Corey Davis more than I trust Lamar Jackson to get the ball to Mark Andrews and Dez Bryant and Hollywood Brown. He's going to make plays with his legs, but I feel it with Tannehill. I feel it with King Henry. I got Tennessee at home. Bears at the Saints. This is the game with the highest likelihood of being a blowout, not being competitive. Drew Brees is retiring after this year. He's going to join NBC in the booth. So this is it. He needs to get this recent playoff monkey off his back. Don't forget. Or if you didn't know, now you know. Drew Brees, last 3 playoff appearances, 3 consecutive losses on the last play of the game. At what point do we just stop saying it's flukes and miracles and bad refs and just say Drew didn't get it done? He's got to get it done today. Anyway, at home against the Bears, with no Roquan Smith on the defense. I know what we're coming up on. I'm looking at the clock just like you are. But I want to give Mike Tomlin his flowers right now. He set his guys last week against the Browns, knowing the possibility that losing means he might play him again. Let that brew. He saw Cleveland in a must-win situation. He knows what they're like under that pressure. And without giving away new information on his team, he knows what Cleveland's going to do. He knows their first 10 plays. He knows the script. He knows how they want to attack him. Because Cleveland needed to win that game. Mike Tomlin. Hey. So he knows what they're going to do early. That first 10-play script is so important. It says everything about what I think my team can do to get out front and start fast. And it says everything about how I think I can attack you. And that's what Cleveland did because they needed to. Tomlin knows now. And I'm not saying that the Steelers are going to come out and smack them. But if Cleveland wins convincingly, after giving up so much intel, you got to have them going deep. You got to know that this is a squad that's got some destiny on their side. As far as the game, the Steelers have 3 receivers with over 800 yards and 7 touchdowns. 5 guys with more than 5 touchdowns. Ben throws it around the yard. You got to prepare for everybody. The Browns will run the ball down Pittsburgh's throats, just like everybody in the division has, for over 150 a game. I can't believe I'm saying this. Cleveland is going to take Big Brother out back. Nah, they're not going to beat him up, but they will win. Send them home. And the entire AFC North landscape is going to turn on its head, just like this chat, because I see Cody Norlander in here. I'm sorry, man. Browns by a touchdown tonight. This is your 5-minute warning. The Super Wildcard edition of your 5-minute warning. Get your pizza situated. Get your wangs situated. Drums and flats. There is no more fantasy football. So congrats to everybody that got the hardware. I hope everybody had a great season. There is no more regular season weekly designated report pick'em. Hope everybody had a good time. Shout out to all of our winners. But subscribe to us, man. I can't believe you're here and you don't follow us on IG. Hit the follow button. Follow me too, man. Follow us on Twitter at designated RPT. And subscribe on YouTube, man. If you hear me talking crazy and I said I didn't say something, you can go back 18 episodes now and be like, man, this dude was lying. This dude was lying. All of them up there. Remember, enjoy today, the second day of Super Wildcard Weekend. Also, Nickelodeon is broadcasting the game today in partnership with CBS. Directly following the SpongeBob SquarePants pregame special. I'm tuning in. I want to see what SpongeBob got to say. That's my rival now. Media rivals, me versus SpongeBob. Who got the better pregame show? Let me know. Man, set goals. Move closer to those goals every day. Shout out to everybody coming through the chat. As every week. Dan Casada says Mitchell Trubisky is getting slimed today. Probably true. I love all y'all. Come back next week. We'll talk about what happened today and everything going forward. I love this time of year because I wish we did this last week because everything you know about these playoff teams, you know why they're going to win the Super Bowl. You also know why they're not. But you don't know who's going to win. But when they do, you're going to say, we knew they had the running game. We knew they had the defense. We knew they could throw it around the yard. It's just such a great place to be in. Who you got winning the Super Bowl? Hit us up. I'll see you guys next week. This is the warm-up. Peace.